coming up. Voters across the high country cast their ballots in a historic election. Plus, living in a swing state during such a close presidential race. All of this and more in the election edition of NAZ Today. The news starts now.
You're watching NAZ Today, Northern Arizona's local news.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of NAZ Today. I'm Michaela Richardson.
And I'm Faith Rodriguez. Thanks for tuning in.
It's now past 7 p.m. across most of Arizona, which means all of the polls are officially closed. Only those people already in line at 7 p.m. will be allowed to vote. Now, it's a waiting game to see the results, and it may be a long wait.
While it may not be something that eager voters would like to hear, the Coconino County Elections Department says we will likely not see the official results until Monday at the earliest. We've broken down the schedule for you here.
Starting tonight at 8 p.m., early ballot counts will be released. After any remaining early ballots are counted, the Election Center will move to counting the in-person Election Day ballots from around 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow at noon, they will receive the election ballots from Havasupai and work with the ones requiring special processing. Then every day until November 11th, conditional, provisional, and early voting ballots that were dropped off on Election Day will be counted.
Now, this waiting period for ballots did not stop voters from going to the polls early. This morning, a line formed around the Beaver Street School polling location before sunrise. Eager voters came to the polling place near the NAU campus this morning to get ahead of the crowds and vote before classes.
I wanted to beat the line. I wanted to get ready before my class started. And I just wanted to get in my poll for democracy before my day really got started.
For some students, voting meant kicking off their first year of college with a monumental change.
Whatever happens in this election is going to affect our whole college career because we're freshmen, so the next 4 years it's like in our hands, kind of.
Others are hopeful that the next 4 years will result in a unified country.
The sentiment is pretty hopeful, I would say. We've been on both parties through a lot of trouble throughout the last few years, to say the least, and there's quite a lot of confusion.
As for the voting process, Joyner says it was easier than she anticipated.
I honestly thought that the voting process was going to feel like a test and I was going to be like stressed and not like whip out my phone or like they were going to say that I had to do it this way, but I looked at my phone and I looked up the propositions right there and I was like looking around my shoulder like, am I going to get in trouble? No, it was not that serious, so I'm feeling blessed.
Around 1:30 this afternoon, the Coconino County Elections Office sent out a notice regarding misinformation being spread about voting. The notice says voters at polling locations had been incorrectly informed by an unknown group that they can vote using a federal-only ballot in Coconino County, even if they are registered to vote in a different Arizona county. This information was incorrect, and voters are encouraged to check their voter registration at my.arizona.vote.
Navajo County is having extended polling times this evening due to bomb threats. At 3:30 this afternoon, the Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes said there were unsubstantiated reports of bomb threats at 4 specific locations in Navajo County. The exact locations have not yet been released, but state and federal law enforcement are working to find out who is responsible. Bomb threats have also been reported in Georgia, Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Fontes says he has reason to believe foreign enemies, namely Russia, are behind these threats. It was a small parade with a big purpose. NAU students and faculty held a small parade to the polls, ending up at the Beaver Street Voting Center on the NAU campus. NAZ Today's Nicole Rutherford was there.
Parade to the Polls is a nonpartisan event to help encourage NAU students and the community to go out and vote.
I just really encourage everybody, no matter what party affiliation you are, to come out and vote and also just have conversations.
The parade started from outside University Union and ended at South Beaver School.
They were met with volunteers and students lined up to vote. Volunteers were informing students and answering any voting questions people had.
I think it's really important to be an informed voter and to really get out there and make our voices heard.
The event aimed to reassure students that their voice matters in this historic election.
I think that an informed voter is going to be the best for the overall health of the country and well-being of everyone. And so I just really want to empower our generation in particular to make their voices heard.
College students are a part of a large demographic of new voters, and we will soon find out just how big of an effect they will have on this election. Nicole Rutherford, NAZ Today.
With varied wait times throughout the day at different polling locations, one organization is offering to help voters who are stuck in long lines. Pizza to the Polls is a nonprofit that is sending free pizza to voters who are waiting at the polls. They say their mission is to deliver free food to people who are doing their civic duty. To deliver pizza to a polling location, visit polls.pizza/report. Arizona is one of the most crucial states in the presidential election. As a swing state, both tickets have had their eyes on the Grand Canyon State for most of the campaign season. In 2020, Arizona voters went for President Joe Biden. Before this, however, Arizona had not gone blue since the former president Bill Clinton in 1996. The latest polling puts Trump ahead of Kamala Harris in Arizona.
This election hasn't only caught the attention of Americans, it's being watched around the world. Some citizens from the United Kingdom have even come to help the U.S. during the election. England resident Robert Yates came to Flagstaff to help the Democratic Party at the polls.
We're very interested in the American election, very concerned about the American elections and the future of your democracy and the implications for the world, really. So many of us in Europe are concerned at the prospect, certainly, of the return of a Trump presidency, which would be a disaster. And I feel very strongly about so many of the issues that are true to the Democrats. And so I thought, I can help, so I'll come and help.
Yates says he was at a polling place as early as 7 this morning to hand out cider to voters heading to the polls. NAU exchange students are also watching this election closely. While they cannot vote, they still have strong opinions on the outcome. NAZ Today's Helena Robla joins us with more.
Thanks, Michaela. Along with the UK, other countries around the world are following closely to see how these results may change the global political landscape. I talked to some NAU international exchange students to see what they think.
Japan is really connected to the US, so this election might be a really big impact on my country, I think. Yeah.
Maybe I'm worried that if the government changes or says this way, it has an effect on the price of things, and maybe like things like food or basic supplies or something, maybe that can change the price.
Even though I still think it's just a choice for the lesser evil, but I would elect. So it's kind of painful to be here and follow it all around, but then you're not really part of it and you can't really do anything about it. But that's what it is.
Some of the students I talked to say they're worried what might happen to their exchange program under a new administration. Elena Robla, NAC Today.
Now, because of Arizona's key role in the federal election, both candidates and their representatives toured Arizona multiple times during election season. Most recently, Tim Walz visited Flagstaff's Heritage Square in the heart of downtown.
We're joined by the Lumberjacks newspaper, Daisy Johnston, who was able to attend the Waltz event. Daisy, what were his main points?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Some of his main points were just, 3 days until the election, really getting people out there, last efforts to encourage people to go to the polls on today, Tuesday.
Fantastic. And you and I covered a Trump rally just a few weeks ago. How would you say this event kind of compared to that?
Right, well, a large part of the event is the people there, and when we went to that Trump rally, the people in the front of the line, you talked to them, they had been there for 3 days, some of them no showers, and from all across the country. And when I spoke to the people in line on Saturday, I spoke to the first person in line, and she got there at 8:30. So, these are locals who are excited about their candidates coming to town, as opposed to, kind of this cult following on the other side. Yeah.
Part of his stop in Flagstaff was to encourage voters to get out and vote. Why do you think he decided to come here before making the trip to Tucson?
Right. Well, the Democrats wouldn't be sending their candidate here if they didn't think he had a chance. But they also wouldn't be sending him here if they thought they had this in the bag. So, while Harris is across the country rallying in Pennsylvania, in all those East Coast areas, all those Blue Belt areas, it's really important to have her other guy, her second in command, here in the Sun Belt. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, thank you so much, Daisy, for coming on. It's always such a pleasure to have you here. And if you'd like more information on the Lumberjacks coverage of the election, check out jackcentral.org.
NAZ Today's Kaylee Doyle was also at this event.
That's right, and she checked in with Flagstaff residents about Walz's visit.
I'm Kaylee Doyle for NAZ Today, and behind me is the line to see Tim Walz, the vice presidential candidate. It's his first time visiting Flagstaff since the election season, and his 5th time visiting Arizona. He's hosting a Get Out and Vote event today.
We had the opportunity to talk to the people in line to learn more about their views on the current election and how they feel about voting in a swing state.
When I found out he was coming today, I was just immediately excited. I really wanted to support the movement, support the energy, be part of the energy, and it just makes you really excited to be, you feel like you're a little bit more part of the democracy.
And boy, could we feel the energy. People were lining up around the block for a chance to see Walz speak.
I feel great that my vote maybe, I don't want to say matters more than others, but it definitely matters. It's really important to vote, get your voice heard. There's a lot of, again, excitement and importance, and we just have a really great opportunity to try to get our voices heard and get the democratic process, in my opinion, in the right direction again.
I mean, it's one of the most important votes out there. As far as it goes, if you're a California Democrat, thank you for what you're doing, but it's not as important as it is around here.
Noadiah Abaddon had been following Walz in order to try to give the former high school football coach a high five.
Okay, so when Kamala first became the nominee, I went down to that first rally in Phoenix, and I was sitting in the corner with Mark Kelly and Gabby Giffords and all of them, and I was 3 seats away from being able to give Walz a high five, and I didn't get that high five, and I'm hoping I will get a second chance at that.
People in line to see Walz had a sense of pride about being a part of something. For Walz, it was a chance to take advantage of the fact that Flagstaff traditionally has a large percentage of left-leaning voters. Kaylee Doyle, NAZ Today.
Now, as this historic election reaches its conclusion, much like this show, it's important to make sure that every vote counts. NAZ Today's Noah McNeil got to spend a day with volunteers for the Harris-Walz campaign.
Passionate community members such as Gary Robbins have made sure that Flagstaff residents have a voice by going door to door. When canvassing, pamphlets give people information to make an educated choice on a candidate.
So at the beginning, it's about informing people about what the issues are, what are the propositions, what do they mean, how will voting on those one way or the other affect you personally.
By using the app Minivan, canvassing is made easier, giving volunteers a map of information on likely voters and their respective parties, as well as the status of that person's vote.
And now, in these last few days, it's about chasing ballots. We know that there are people all over the county, spread far and wide, whose ballots in their yellow envelopes are sitting on the kitchen counter.
With this election predicted to be close, supporting a candidate you align with is crucial, especially when living in a swing state such as Arizona.
Canvassing will raise the vote total by up to 5%.
People may think of canvassing as intrusive, which is why Robbins told us that he always makes sure to be courteous. Through watching him, it was clear that canvassing not only motivates, but educates. Noah McNeil, NAZ Today.
Now that's all we have for you tonight on this special edition of NAZ Today. We'll be back tomorrow with more results and more Northern Arizona news. Until then, keep up to date on our socials at NAZ Today. Stay safe and have a good night.